Following Saturday's win over the Delaware Blue Hens, Deion Sanders has to make the hardest decision of his coaching career when it comes to who starts at quarterback moving forward. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So thank you for making me your first listen of the day, and let's have some fun. Also, a little programming change. Me and Jordan will be filming. We filmed today, so the episode will be dropping tomorrow. If you want to become a Locked On Buffs insider and get a film breakdown with Jordan Dominic, the former Colorado star who played on Deion Sanders' first team, those will also be dropping tomorrow, so Tuesday. Let's dive into Colorado's toughest decision yet, Deion Sanders' toughest decision yet. He took the risk of playing three quarterbacks, right? He said it was his plan all along to play each quarterback two series. And then obviously Ryan Staub sort of asserted himself as the most consistent and asserted himself as the answer, or I guess for the Delaware game. So he got more series than everyone else, or at least he got the opportunity, not more series. He got the opportunity to start the second half because he finished it so strongly, right? And if you don't remember what happened, 7-10 for 157 yards, 15.7 yards per pass, 2 touchdowns. He graded, according to PFF, as the 18th highest quarterback in college football, which that it probably could be even higher because he didn't play enough snaps to be graded with the initial bunch of quarterbacks. So there's probably some quarterbacks in there that played less snaps than him that are graded higher than him. So Ryan Staub, let's just say top 15-ish performance in college football, if not better. And I think Deion Sanders has to make the toughest decision of his coaching career, at least at Colorado, because you move forward. And he says he already knows what he wants to do, which is great. I think he made it clear that whether he said it or not, I think he made it clear that he had faith in Ryan Staub and wanted Ryan Staub to show it, that he could be the guy. And I think Ryan Staub did, right? I think Kaidon Salter, for whatever reason, he's not reliable. Right, Colorado cannot trust him to consistently make the plays that they need from him. Now, this doesn't mean Kaidon Salter is a bad player. It just means that Colorado may not be getting what they hoped or thought they were getting with Kaidon Salter. Julian Lewis is downright not ready, and I think that's okay. He's a 17-year-old kid who should be a senior in high school, should be getting ready for winter formal, should be sort of worrying about what he's going to – his Algebra 2 test or whatever you take in senior year of high school. I took a finite math, whatever, he should be getting ready for the SATs or whatever, but instead he's preparing to be a quarterback on a college football program. Right. But Deion Sanders says he has a solution moving forward. He didn't want to say what the solution was. I think the solution is, his decision is, he doesn't want to say what it was, but I think it's quite clear. Right. And I think whatever decision he makes will affect the locker room moving forward, right? Because you can't say you saw what we all saw and then start Kaidon Salter or Julian Lewis against Houston on Friday, right? And it's not a knock on those guys. I think they're both good. I think Kaidon Salter has had some bright moments. I think Julian Lewis will be good. But Ryan Staub was far and away the best quarterback on Saturday. And I keep seeing people say, oh, it was just against Delaware. Who cares, right? Delaware's barely an FBS team. This is their first year. It's like, right. That's why I'm not projecting Colorado to win the national championship now that Ryan Staub could be a quarterback. That being said, Julian Lewis and Kaidon Salter were each playing that same Delaware team, and they just didn't perform as well as Ryan Staub. And so I think if you're Deion Sanders, I understand why this decision is difficult, right? Because at the end of the day, Kaidon Salter, you probably spent money to bring him to Boulder. It's his last year, and whether people want to admit it or not, there's a human element to this thing where he loses the starting job. It probably tanks any professional aspirations he had, right? He could still declare for the draft, and he could still try to have an NFL career, in which, I mean, I don't think Kaidon Salter was ever a surefire NFL prospect at quarterback. That being said, losing the quarterback job in your final year of eligibility probably not going to help matters, right? So there's that aspect. And I know Deion Sanders is aware of that because they always talk about NFL draft grades. I've seen them bring it up countless times. And you also risk running, or you run the risk of benching Kaidon Salter and knowing that he's pretty much checked out, right? I don't know Kaidon Salter personally, but there's a risk there where it's like you don't start him and he checks out for the season. And it's like, okay, I'm done. Right? I came here to play. I'm not playing. I'm not getting the opportunities I was hoping I would get. And I think, I mean, obviously that just, it comes down to how Kaidon Salter handles whatever happens next, right? I don't know if that's how he'd react. Because at the end of the day, you're always one play away. His legs will probably keep him in the coach's mind at least, right? I would imagine that they'd like to get him moving a little bit, but Ryan Staub is also a great athlete, right? I don't know if he's as fast as Kaidon Salter, but Ryan Staub could scoot. He could scoot with the best of them, I would say, when it comes to the quarterback position in college football. And so you run the risk, if you don't go with Kaidon Salter, you may lose him. Not really, like he can't go anywhere because it's his last year, but you may lose him on the sidelines where he's just not dialed in. But on the contrary, and I think this is the more pivotal sort of decision here, if you don't start Ryan Staub against Houston, and really until he proves that he shouldn't start, which God forbid that happens, you risk sort of just like losing the locker room or losing respect for the locker room in a way. And I think Deion Sanders is going to start Ryan Staub. I think he's just showing a little gamesmanship here, but this is just hypothetically, right? If you don't start Ryan Staub, hypothetically, the locker room is going to be like, okay, you talk about giving everybody their chances and playing the best player, but clearly it's not about that. And Deion Sanders today, or not today, but I think it was after the game, said, I don't care if you're a 5-star, 6-star, whatever. We like to have those guys because those guys cost money or whatever, but you got to play who's the best player, right? And I think that was him alluding to the fact that he's going to start Ryan Staub. That being said, I think this is a very unique quarterback room in college football right now, because Ryan Staub technically has, I think he has 3 years of eligibility left. Juju Lewis was probably expecting Kaidon Salter to start this year and then being handed the keys next year. That throws a wrench in that possibly. It's one of those things where it's like, hey, you have to really understand, like, whatever decision you make will impact now and the future. But I think Deion Sanders has this this fearlessness when it comes to making decisions, right? And I think the common consensus around college football, like I keep seeing a lot of people saying, oh, he's not benching Kaidon Salter. Deion Sanders makes whatever decision he feels right. Like, if you remember correctly, it was 2023. Sean Lewis was, I mean, after the first 3 or 4 games for Colorado, Sean Lewis was the front runner to replace Mel Tucker at Michigan State, right? Do you remember that? Mel Tucker got into trouble and got fired, and Sean Lewis was like the popular name because of his time at Kent State. It was like perfect, get him back in the, what was it, the Northwest or the Midwest? I don't know. I will say Midwest-ish. Get him back over there, Big Ten program, right? And then all of a sudden, Deion Sanders decides, you know what? You're not cutting it, right? The offense is not doing what it needs to do with you calling plays, and we are going to move on to Pat Shurmur, right? Demotes him, right? He let Travis Hunter play both ways. He has given guys who most people don't expect, Charlie Offerdahl, Ben Finiseth, who had a big forced fumble in Saturday's game, right? He's given guys opportunities that he feels are the best for that moment. And I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he's not going to do it, right? I don't think people are going to expect him to pull the trigger on the decision. But I think if anyone's willing to take a risk like this and play the guy who's third on the depth chart for the past 2 weeks, it's Deion Sanders. It's Deion Coach Prime Sanders, right? He has shown time and time again he is not scared to take a risk. And Ryan Staub right now seems to be about the safest risk you could take at quarterback, right? With Kaidon Salter not really living up to expectations as one of the top transfers in the portal, Julian Lewis not ready. I think Ryan Staub is about as safe a bet as you could get when your quarterback situation is unknown. So you guys comment below, who do you think should be the starting quarterback for the Colorado Buffaloes moving forward? When we come back, I'm going to talk about the good and the bad things I noticed that not enough people are talking about when it comes to the Colorado Buffaloes. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. This episode is brought to you by our sponsors over at Supply House. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCOLLEGE5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. This episode of Locked on Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Now, if you want to go to a ball game this year, Game Time is the place to get your tickets. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. There's tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting the tickets to experience all that, it can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, no surprise fees. What you see is what you get. My favorite part is the seat view feature on your phone. You tilt your phone a little bit and you'll see exactly what you'll be in that seat. You'll see exactly what you'll be viewing from that location. There should be no surprise like poles or weird stadium architecture that catches you off guard. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets to Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, download Game Time today. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. If you want to become a Locked on Buffs insider, go to the link below in my caption. If you don't know what that means, myself and former Colorado star Jordan Dominic are going to be doing this cool thing where we're going to do film breakdowns. We're going to answer questions that you could text us. We're going to do Q&As. You could text us one-on-one. It's going to be awesome, right? It's going to be a way to connect and talk even more Buffs. So that way you get to learn and know everything you want to know about your favorite team and players, coaches, whatever it may be. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this is something that I don't think was talked about enough from Saturday. And I tweeted these observations, got a lot of interactions, and I think it was cool. But I tweeted 4 observations. 1, 2, 3, 5 observations. Sorry, I can't count. And I'll just run through them, give you a quick breakdown of why it caught my attention and why I think it should change or won't change. For starters, Jaheim Oatis, Alabama transfer, who I'm sure was and this is the hard part about the new transfer portal era. I know Colorado's not spending as much as other programs, but you know Colorado's spending a little, right? You're paying some of these guys to transfer here. And I think Jaheim Oatis was probably one of the more expensive transfers, and I don't think they got their ROI yet, return on investment, right? Jaheim Oatis has not been the player on the practice field or in games that Colorado's hoped for. What I mean by that is he played 9 snaps against Delaware, right? Jaheim Oatis is a behemoth of a person, 6'5", like 330. He's someone who I thought, and I've been told this countless times, All-American potential, but work ethic of someone who's just happy to be there. It just really isn't. I mean, I don't even know if he's happy to be there sometimes. Not everything has clicked for him, and it's unfortunate because he's talented, right? He's probably talent-wise arguably the best player on Colorado's roster. But when it comes to determination and drive, he's not that, right? Jaheim Oatis is not doing what Colorado was hoping for. And until he sort of shows like that he could be, until he shows that like he gives any you-know-whats about playing football for Colorado, I expect to see this snap count for him, right? He made a nice play against Georgia Tech, but they didn't play him all of the whole game. And obviously he's in the interior defensive line, so I don't expect him to play like 70 snaps, but I just thought he'd have a bigger role. And he's been one of the bigger disappointments through the first 2 weeks, in my opinion. And clearly that indicates to me that he's not doing everything he needs to do. Next, Draylon Miller. Draylon Miller has sort of been tabbed as like one of Colorado's stars, and we're not getting that from him. He had a drop on Saturday. He had a drop last week, and he just sort of is – it's not working, right? On the year, he has 3 catches for 14 yards. I think Draylon Miller would be best suited as a running back, honestly. I just don't really know why it's not working. I'm not sure if it's him, the quarterbacks and him don't have a connection, if it's just the play calling doesn't work in his favor. It's just one of those things where the whole offseason, we hyped up Draylon Miller as a guy who, and he's been starting, right? He's been starting over Quentin Gibson, Isaiah Harge, other guys like Hakeem Williams, Jack Hastera. He's been starting over them. And it's like, but why, right? Why is he starting over them when he hasn't shown the ability to make plays in his limited opportunities? Why is Colorado not making it a point to get him the ball? I think there's just a lot of questions there. He's someone who I thought would have a bigger role, and it's just not working out. I do think that he said that he's been getting reps at running back earlier in the season. I would like to see that, honestly. With Dallin Hayden status up in the air, I think Colorado's running back room is coming along, and I think it wouldn't hurt to have another body in there. And I think right now, from what we're seeing from Draylon Miller as a receiver, I think he would do more good for the team at running back. So other players like Quentin Gibson, Jack Hastera could possibly get an opportunity to get more run. Next observation, London Merritt led the team in quarterback hurries. It didn't matriculate into a sack, but I think it sort of shows how deep Colorado's pass rushers will be, right? You have Alexander McPherson, who it wasn't on defense, but blocked a punt, effort play. You have Keaton Wade. You have Arden Walker, who I haven't really been super impressed with this year. I think he has it in him. We just haven't seen it. Samuel Kunlola has, he was out, but I don't know if he necessarily was he hasn't been what I thought, at least in that first game. So London Merritt is taking advantage of the opportunities. And I think by the end of the year, London Merritt may be a key contributor for this defense. I like what I'm seeing from him. When you lead the team in quarterback hurries, that means you're obviously doing something right. You're making plays, you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the hustle, you're making the hustle plays, and that's what Colorado needs, right? You need to be tenacious, you need to get to the quarterback and get them off platform and get them out of their comfort zone and maybe make them move their eyes around. And then lastly, my observation, and this is the hard part about PFF. I'm not trying to base all of my analysis on PFF grades, but on how they performed. But Colorado's highest graded offensive lineman from the starters when it came to rushing offense was 62.3. Now, let me compliment sandwich this. Although they struggled blocking-wise when it comes to the run game, pass blocking-wise, they had an 84, an 82, an 80, a 75, and a 68. So very, very much improved. Granted, it's Delaware. They're undersized. I don't think they've figured out the run game yet. I don't know how to figure out the run game. That's not my job to figure out the run game. That's Pat Shermer's. But I do think the offensive line needs to figure it out, how to get more of a push and create more for these running backs, right? Simeon Price has surprised me a lot. Micah Welch has played well. And I think DeKalin Taylor, is doing well with his snaps, right? DeKalin Taylor, whether it's as a receiver, as a running back, he's taking advantage of the reps he gets, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's if you just sort of break down how Colorado ran the ball this past week, though, clearly Simeon Price and DeKalin Taylor were the two most effective. 9 for 55 for Simeon, 6.1 yards per carry. 7 for 48, 6.9 yards per carry for DeKalin, right? So I think we need more physicality, more of a forward push from the offense line. It's much better than last year's offense line, I can tell you that. But there's still room for improvement. Tell me something you've observed about the Colorado Buffaloes. Tell me something that you've seen. Tell me something that you've liked, you disliked about the Buffs moving forward. When we come back, the Buffs are underdogs against Houston. Let's talk about why. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by The Game Cap. Quick question for all you college football fans out there. If you could go back in time and sit front row to your school's biggest rivalry game, what hat would you be wearing? Yes, I said hat. For me, it would be The Game. These aren't just hats. They're the same vintage style hats that fans wore back in the 80s and 90s. And guess what? They still go for the same price they did back then. When you use code LOCKEDON, you'll get a vintage hat for $16.99. Head to thegamecaps.com. Grab your team's classic bar or retro circle design and use code LOCKEDON for an exclusive discount because legends wear the game. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that jazz. The Buffs are underdogs again. They play the Houston Cougars on the road, and Houston has opened as 4.5-point underdogs. The over-under set at 44.5. Houston has not impressed me through the first couple weeks. They've been kind of lethargic against Stephen F. Austin and Rice. Connor Weigman has, I think he's been solid. He's not the 5-star that I thought. He's not the 5-star that I think a lot of people thought he'd be, like 5-star caliber, where it's just like 300-yard plus every game. Houston solid though. Good defense. They're physical. They can throw the ball effectively, but they're not going to bust it open with the passing game. Why are the Buffs underdogs though? This is what I wanted to talk about. For starters, you pretty much gave up 400 yards of offense against a team that's new to the FBS. Your quarterback situation is as murky as it gets. And I feel like every week we see a new team, right? We see a team that's getting pushed around and defensively in the trenches. I don't think the linebackers that good or have played that well. And I just think that there's a lot of unknowns about Colorado right now. I think there's just been so much changing where the safer bet feels to go, and this isn't me saying I'd bet against Colorado. I think they're going to beat Houston. But I think the odds makers are thinking, you know what? This team is just so all over the place. It's probably better for us to just be safe and go with the home team, who's 2-0, hasn't looked elite by any means, but they've handled business. And that's sort of how I think the odds makers process this. Now, I think this game could be not a statement win for Colorado because I expect them to win, but depending on how things go, I think this could be a step in the right direction, a momentum-building win for Colorado because you lose a close one against Georgia Tech, and now you have an opportunity to beat a P4 conference team, start 1-0 in Big 12 play, and just continue to solidify yourself as a Big 12 contender. So that's why I think Colorado's an underdog. You give me one reason why Colorado's an underdog, because I just think there's so much unknowns with them still. So appreciate you guys for tuning in, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow with Jordan Dominic. And we will also be doing our Locked On Insiders program, which I will put the link below. Make sure to sign up. The first 2 weeks are free, which is really cool. You'll get film breakdowns. You can text us one-on-one questions, whatever it is. It's going to be awesome. So appreciate you guys, and I will see y'all tomorrow.